Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome to the stage NASCIO President Daryl Ackley.
Cuando bailando con He did it better than I did. Cuando vamos a la playa. It's been a month since I was at the beach, but boy, it was beautiful. Hey, NASCIO. Maryland in the house. I heard that. Where you at, Mr. Urban? It's kind of hard to see with the lights. How are you? How's everybody doing? Good? Did you have a good lunch? Yes? The dessert was terrible, wasn't it? Just kidding, Marriott staff. That was good. That was amazing. Hopefully, you're all recovered from your lunch and your networking opportunities, and welcome back for this afternoon's programming. Do not forget about the Twitter competition that is going on right now. You need to cast your technology spell and tweet your favorite quote and photo of the day using hashtag NASCIO16. So we'll announce winners later on in the program. Our next session should be high energy, continuing, I think, with the theme from our keynote and carrying on through the day. We will highlight 5 of the CIO top 10 priorities. Each speaker is going to have 20 slides and 5 minutes. You do the math. It's a fast-paced session, so let's get right to it. First up is Michael Watson, Chief Information Security Officer from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Give it up for Mr. Watson.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, so I'm going to do this in 5 minutes. So here's what I figured I'd talk to you about today. First of all, thank you very much for having me. What I figured we'd talk to you a little bit about today is some of how to adopt and integrate cyber risk strategies into our business, and specifically focusing on a couple different areas, IT risk and protecting our confidentiality and integrity and availability of our data. Right, so as I started in this job, I was trying to figure out, exactly what was I going to do in those 2 areas, and then, like I said, I focused on the protecting confidentiality, integrity, and availability first, and that's the stuff we're all very familiar with, right? That's the cyber hygiene stuff, the password controls, the user awareness training, all the policies and standards and stuff that we put in place. But what we generally forget is that all of those things exist in order for us to figure out what type of risk exist in our environment and what types of things we need to protect, right? And generally what we end up forgetting to ask ourselves is what's actually the appropriate amount of risk for us to take on as an organization. And this becomes extremely important when we're, of course, trying to talk to our businesses, right? Because our businesses don't understand all of the technical controls and why they're there. All they want to do is use IT. All they want to do is provide services like they're expecting to. And it's our job to figure out, as CISOs, on how to actually fill the gap between, yeah, see, this is what my users look like, fill the gap between our cyber risk and our technology folks, right? So what we're finding is that as more and more organizations are looking at risk, they're realizing that, hey, there's actually a large safety component, right? We're starting to move a little bit past the concept of keeping all of our data safe all the time or out of keeping our data confidential all the time, because they're in the state and local government area, we end up having a large safety concern, right? That's what they tend to task us with, is stuff that can't be changed or stuff that's of significant concern. Right, so what do you need? You need a CISO that's going to be able to speak all things. And I pulled this from a Deloitte report a little while ago. And the CISO role is changing more and more from being that technologist person to being able to speak to the business and make them understand the amount of risk and issues that they're taking on. And why this becomes important is because often the business doesn't understand what the outcome of the risk that they're taking on is. We see these are where the interesting news stories come from, right? These are the airport attacks. These are the water system attacks. These are the things that sometimes get impacted that aren't necessarily even directly technology related in our minds, right? The elections stuff. We're all very familiar with how elections work and generally the systems that are involved, and a lot of times they're not even technology-focused issues. us trying to figure out how to handle them. St. Jude's just last week had an issue associated with a pacemaker that ended up impacting their bottom line significantly, right? They had a huge drop in their stock prices because there was a vulnerability that was released about a pacemaker that was really old, and they had since fixed it. We're all familiar with some of the stuff that happened in our federal government, and what we're turning to and what we're trending towards is saying that, hey, look, the services that we provide are no longer something that we can operate outside of understanding what's happening with our risk, right? We need to understand that, hey, when we're putting these services out there, we need to make sure that we're putting controls in place as part of our risk. And that should be reflected in our budget model as well, right? So when you look at private organizations, you recognize that, hey, most of them don't offer internet services to our home users without actually providing antivirus as an add-on service, right? Comcast, it's free. Verizon's, it's cheaper, but it's part of the services that they provide. When we provide networks, we're also providing firewalls with those networks. When we provide any type of technology service, including those in the future, such as things like cars, we need to make sure that we're implementing security controls along with them and build them into the service and the cost of the service. It eliminates that issue associated with budget. So as I'm coming to 1 minute up, I'm going to try to, ransomware. Sorry, I almost forgot about ransomware. Can't forget about that. That's also one of those major areas that we ended up having a significant impact this year in the healthcare organization, right? It doesn't necessarily even have to be the compromise of data. It can just make it not available. And one of the things I thought was interesting that you can look at very quickly, number 1 and number 8, this is an Intel top 10 cybersecurity predictions for 2016. And as we're getting towards the end of the year, I figured it was kind of appropriate for us to take a look at. Our role as government is going to expand in the cybersecurity area, and we expect it to continue down that way. We're also finding that regardless of the actual compromises that we're having, our fundamental trust in the services that we're providing in the IT landscape is becoming somewhat undermined, and we've got to figure out ways to adopt and address that. So I figure that probably we're going to end up with this NASCIO priority being in the top 10 for a while to come. And with that, I'll end with a nice little cartoon that I'm a big fan of. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Daryl Ackley from New Mexico. Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Todd from Texas. I'm going to talk about the cloud, truth or dare. The truth, the cloud is here. It's not going anywhere. Truth or dare, there are a lot of facts and fiction that exist about the cloud and how you can go to cloud services, how fast you adopt those cloud services. There are some misnomers about cloud, about how safe and secure it is, but first some history about DIR in Texas and what we've done in the cloud. I think we've done a lot in the cloud, a lot more than many of the states have, starting back in 2006 and as recently as this month, releasing some new capabilities for our customers in our data center program, consolidated data center program. But what is cloud? People say cloud a lot. They use it broadly as an adjective. But cloud is really these elements. It is characteristics of cloud service. It is metered billing. It is self-service orchestration. It is burst to handle speed and elasticity of capacity. So what is it really? It's delivery. It's not technology. The technology that enabled this delivery model was quite some time ago. It is really about a different way of managing technology, people, and process. But wait, let me back up. That was a $100 bet with James Collin at Delaware. A lunch bet. So cloud is really a lot of different things. There are certain characteristics about cloud. This is OpEx versus CapEx. So our cloud partners, our cloud providers deliver the infrastructure, and customers actually consume that in an OpEx model. That's favorable for many organizations. Certainly for us it is. And my point before about treating cloud as a noun, right? So cloud, there's infrastructure, there's disaster recovery, there's pizza as a service, backup as a service, software as a service. And people broadly characterize all of these things together by just saying cloud. My customers say I need cloud. You need cloud-like characteristics in how you deliver technology. And that means whether it's from a cloud provider or whether it's from an internal IT organization, such as we offer to our customers in Texas. T's and C's, we've negotiated a lot of contracts. Terms and conditions, there's no standardization across the board. It is all over the place. Everything is different. A perspective. From here forward, we're going to talk about IT projects. There will be another, this is kind of a bookmark slide. There will be another bookmark slide at the end. You tell me if you can tell why these exist. So, IT project, technology drivers, you have to pay attention to all of these different aspects when you do an IT project. If you're standing up new compute, these are elements of a project that, as an organization, you must factor into your planning for that project. Risk. Risk is a common element of what's wrong with, a lot of IT projects. So you can't forget risk. You heard about it before. You're going to hear about it again. You have to do risk evaluations of your projects. Risk, uncertainty, and doubt will kill a project. Here are some examples of risks. Have to think about authorized access. You have to think about availability threats. You have to think about fraud and theft. Some new ones, seizure of infrastructure. If you go to the cloud, how do you get your data back? What happens if that cloud provider is not in business anymore? This is actually pretty hard to do this. Risk or uncertainty, factors that you have to consider into your IT projects. As you evaluate a new compute or a new project to automate provide some new capabilities, you have to take these things into consideration. Before, during, and after. You cannot just disregard these elements. This again, is any IT project. Failure to do so gets you to failure. So definitely have to keep these things in mind. Desired state and acceptable conditions. So security is first and foremost. You can't factor security in after the fact. You have to have it in the beginning. There are trade-offs between how tightly you secure something and what your business productivity is going to be. You have to be able to weigh those trade-offs. It's different for everybody. If you're overly secured, you can't produce the results you need. If you only produce the results you need, you may be doing so with a great deal of cyber risk. So, as you prepare for a project, elements that you have to keep into mind and consideration. Once you get your project done, think about afterwards doing your postmortems of understanding what did you do right in your project, what did you do wrong in your project. Records management, that's a big one for my new boss. We have a new focus on records management. So this is the other bookmark slide. So between those two, anybody notice anything in particular? There was really no discussion of cloud. That was all about IT projects. So as you do an IT project, keep those cloud characteristics in mind because the cloud is running out of a data center somewhere. Whether it's the provider's data center or whether it's your data center, it's in a data center somewhere. So it's those characteristics that if you deliver cloud to your customers that you have to keep in mind. Elasticity, metered billing, self-service, and bursting. So thank you very much. My time's up.
Pizza as a service. It's funny how pizza and IT always are so closely related. I don't know, those of you that know the OSI layer model, I don't know how you guys learned it or memorized it, but at Purdue they taught us, please do not throw sausage pizza away. So keep that in the back of your mind. So I figured I'd use my 5-minute Ignite here to talk about a question that I get asked quite frequently, especially at these events and other things, and that's, how do you get a data analytics project started, and how'd you do it in Indiana? And so we'll get started with that. Where do you start? How do you pick something that's meaningful and that will create an impact to your state and its citizens? But you also have to pick something that will gain strong support from the top, because as you go through the process, you're going to face a lot of tough challenges, and that unfailing support is the only thing that's going to get you through. So as an example, here are 4 key use cases that Indiana chose to tackle. And you can see from these themes that we took on big issues and issues that we knew would have a great and impactful return for various reasons, which I'll cover briefly. Let's start with infant mortality. That was a problem that lingered in Indiana for years. Experts had their assumptions, and we continued to try to solve the problem by throwing more funding and resources into the same programs year after year with no change in result. Recidivism was and continues to be a hot topic across most states. Policymakers have now become involved in an effort to help prevent jail and prison overcrowding. The media is also starting to pick up on this as the overcrowding issues and in terms of the cost to citizens. Opiate abuse was unfortunately a cover story for Indiana and shed a very bad light on our state. Hence, attacking drug abuse and creating a cross-agency task force became a key priority for our governor on his agenda in very short order. And then unemployment, demand-driven workforce, is a powerful element to explore. It not only impacts citizens' well-being directly, but it also impacts the state's educational programs as they continue to produce graduates and new entrants into the workforce. So now you have that perfect bulletproof use case. Many of us, including Indiana at first, think that that's all you really need to do, and now everyone would just magically work together for the greater good. But unfortunately, that is not the case. You still have more work to do. You still have 4 remaining key obstacles that look like this that you need to plan to encounter and overcome in order to achieve success. Just getting that buy-in from the top isn't going to help. You need to work on getting the buy-in from your partners that you're going to need the support from as well. So legal is going to be your first obstacle. You're going to find that your partner agencies may not put forth the effort truly required to vet their statutes and policies to find creative solutions to share data with you. You can combat and mitigate this in several ways. A data or privacy officer with a legal background and that really likes to read statute is the best solution. However, partnering with your public access counselor and getting him or her on your side is a strategic move as well. Your next roadblocks will be political. You'll find that certain partner agencies will simply be afraid to share their data with you due to the fact that they think it will point out some shortcomings in their processes or perhaps portray their body of work in a bad light. So you can combat this by educating them on the process that is data science. Make sure they understand the project's going to help them in ways they may not have thought before. And also be sure to clearly state that it's not an exercise to measure their performance. The next roadblock everyone is familiar with would be financial. And I actually think when people hear the term data analytics or big data, I think this is the exact image that pops in their head every time. And it's true, there is a substantial investment required for an analytics practice, but education and creating an understanding that this is an investment in a new way, both technologically and culturally, of decision-making going forward, and that the investment is not just a one-time project. It'll lay the foundation to use data-driven decision-making going forward. And lastly, your final obstacle is technical talent. You may realize you don't have the talent in-house to do what is needed. And secondly, you're going to have resistance from some key individuals that have been in your agency for a while once you start bringing in this outside talent. So you need to combat that with effective communication and change management. As the new talent and technologies are introduced, you need to make certain that the existing subject matter experts still have authority and still have very much a say into what's occurring as they learn. Okay, so you have the use case, you overcome the 4 main obstacles, everyone's all in, nothing's going to stop us now. However, there is one last piece of advice I got to share before closing, and that is don't be this guy. Don't take the data and run. And what I mean by that is don't do all the things I just mentioned, run all of the traps, clear all the obstacles, get everyone on board, and then go off on your own completely to do all the work and take all the credit. Otherwise, you'll meet this guy. Make sure everyone involved gets credit, gets something out of it, and makes their business or their processes better. Make sure they get their cake. Otherwise, you will have some adversaries that will focus all their time and efforts trying to burn down your project. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Hello. Wake up. Good afternoon. Nazio, thanks for giving New York State an opportunity to present our transformation journey. Our transformation journey actually started when Governor Cuomo took office in 2012 with a really bold and progressive transformation agenda. And I know many of you have heard about Cuomo in New York State. But this was something that he wanted to do. He wanted to improve the citizen services while reducing the state operating cost. So what we did, we formed or pulled together a team, which I was fortunate to be part of, which was a cross-section of people, both business and technical. And that team was pulled together with the goal of developing an IT strategy and a roadmap, which was supposed to be presented to the legislature the following year. And now we got the job. This is what we walked into. What you're looking at is what we went in to fix. And the sad part is we didn't have all this information. We didn't have all this information in one piece of paper. We had to go figure it out as to what we owned. And it wasn't easy. So when we started looking deeper into it, we found the technology debt has creeped up, which means agencies haven't paid their maintenance. A lot of the technology refreshes were postponed, especially due to the 2008-2009. The whole fiscal crisis has put us in a different thing. So now, okay, we feel now us technologies, we heard that there's going to be some money. So what did we do? We wanted to go to the future. Let's go to the future. Let's build something that's going to be there for the next 10 years. But, we had some business folks as part of the team who wanted us to come back to reality. So it's boring. We couldn't buy any of those toys. So we get back to reality now. So we got back to reality. We had a vision. And the vision was we were asked to pull together IT transformation vision that is bold and can live through, this is a key point in government, that can live through multiple administrations and multiple changes in leadership, right? And also a roadmap that will address the critical known issues and also uncover the unknowns, because we had so many unknowns. So what happened? We had to really come up with something bold like what happened in the Indian telecom industry. Indian telecom industry totally had 100 million subscribers in 2000. And by 2010, it jumped to 900 million because they jumped a generation, they skipped a generation, they went to mobile. So we had to come up with something like that to really make such a leap. We needed the leadership support and some funding. Leadership, we knew we had it because the team was directly reporting to the governor. And we also got some capital fund. So now we made a huge leap. A leap where you may call it crazy, but these opportunities don't present itself too often. So we went for the big one. We consolidated all the IT functions across the whole state, not just infrastructure, everything. We consolidated the whole stack under one agency, which will be named Office of Information Technology Services, headed by state CIO. And we created some enterprise functions such as the CDO, CTO, COO, and also cybersecurity function, which used to be within our Homeland Security Agency. We moved that to ITS, headed by EISO. All the agency application development shops were grouped into clusters by functional area. We are in the 5th year of our journey, and we have had a lot of changes in governor's office, agency business side, and also multiple CIOs. We are strong and we are going. So that's kind of a testament of all the things that we had to go through. And what is the recipe? What's the key to our success? Key to our success has been really to focus on the basics. Focus on the basics of people, process, and technology. So we had to really get the right team of leadership team to focus on, and also implement ITIL processes to bring some structure to the madness, and then focus on the technology refresh. So those are the kind of things that we were focusing on. And the goal here was to improve resiliency of our whole environment while reducing the cost so that we can use that money to invest in some of the futuristic systems, right? So with the leadership of Maggie Miller, our CIO, my boss, and a wonderful ITS team, New York State is making strides in its transformation journey. What have we done? We have closed about 20 data centers. We have migrated all our phones to VoIP. We have refaced a lot of our public websites, and we are in the process of consolidating all our call centers. And also, on top of it, we are starting to really change our application journey and forcing the individuals to focus more on citizen-centric rather than staying in the silos. So these are kind of the things that we are working on. And if you come in and ask us, would you do this one more time? We would say, yes, maybe, a little bit based on lessons learned, but you bet we're going to do it one more time. Thank you.
Montana is undertaking infrastructure convergence based on an executive order. Little did I know it would be an epic saga on a galactic scale. The year is 2015. Starships wander among the planets. There is no clear leader. Ships are not sharing navigation or defense strategies. The destiny of the fleet is uncertain. On planet Earth, in the state of Montana, to be specific, change is coming. Fearless leaders are meeting up to come up with a plan to align the fleet. Rising costs and varying missions have separated and weakened the alliance. Governor Bullock meets with the Jedi Council. Ideas are shared and discussed. Best practices are studied and recommended. After gathering leaders from planets across the galaxy, a decision is made. An executive order is issued to the fleet. After years of radio silence, a voice breaks through and is broadcast to all starships. It is the voice of Governor Bullock. The message comes through and is loud and clear. Convergence is coming. We have a plan to move the alliance into the digital age and to save money. Everyone will benefit. Do or do not? There is no try, said Yoda. As the news spreads from planet to planet and from ship to ship, crew members of the ships cheer, but some jeer. But Governor Bullock's order means that the ships now have a solid and well-thought-out plan of action. They can begin moving in the same direction, but the clock is ticking, and the fleet only has a few light years to come together and share resources. Converging infrastructure and centralizing resources means that the alliance will be stronger. As assets are combined and ships begin to share their technology and strategies, they will be able to move the alliance forward. Use the Force, Luke. A few lone ships captained by independents from distant planets try to divert away from the plans that Governor Bullock has laid out for the rest of the fleet. Convergence allies with their vision for a better future intervene. The captains meet on a neutral planet with leaders of the alliance and express their concerns. They want to buy their own ships. They want to fly their own ships. They don't want to be weak in battle, but they are. They lose opportunities to collaborate, share, and save. Like Han Solo said, traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops, farm boy. The worries of lone captains and their crews are unfounded. Combining assets and joining the alliance won't take away autonomy or weaken them. It strengthens everyone to better fight battles. They can team up against bounty hunters and stormtroopers. They can win the battle of rising costs and protect themselves against the security threats that all planets face. As Yoda said, train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. Word spreads about convergence and its benefits across the galaxy. Ships large and small from neighboring planets recognize the benefits and volunteer to join the alliance. The captains and crews are enthusiastic about coming together for a common cause. They see that joining forces will save money for all the planets. The total savings are in the millions. They also see improvements in security. They get better reliability and find new places to explore as they share information. Again, Yoda has said, through the Force, things you will see, other places, the future, the past. Finally, the vision that leaders had long hoped for is coming to fruition. Planets are joining together. Holographic maps are being shared. A plan for the alliance gains momentum. The fleet of ships is combining, destinations are aligning. The vast fleet of independent ships are converging together. The alliance is prepared to move through space as one, better, stronger, and more prepared than ever to fly forward into the future of the digital age. May the Force be with you.
I've altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. I don't know how to follow that, but I strangely was entertained and have a lot of takeaway. So I'm going to say it was effective, and the Star Wars fan in me will never forget that moment. But wonderful presentations by a number of wonderful speakers on a number of wonderful topics. It's a tremendous amount of preparation. I'm looking forward to watching the Twitter board after that one. I have a feeling it's going to be a monumental one. But absolutely, I'd like to thank all our speakers. I know that's a lot of preparation work that goes into those sessions. It's tough, right, to get that much content into a short amount of time. You all did a wonderful job. Appreciate that. We would like to get your feedback on that last forum. So if you could get your ARS pads, have them at the ready. 5 being extremely valuable, 1 being not valuable at all, with the gradients in between there. If you could rate that last session, we'll start now. 10 seconds, go. Doesn't work, does it? We were talking Jason Bourne at lunch. I guess that's why I was. So thank you for your feedback. I'm still having trouble following that. That was amazing, wasn't it? Kudos, kudos. All right. We're going to amend the agenda a little bit. Pray we don't amend it any further. We're going to take a 15-minute break because we're going to move into our speed networking portion of the agenda. So we need to get that set up. We need to get those tables ready to go so that we can have an efficient time with that activity. So what we're going to ask you to do in just a moment, is move to the lobby for refreshments and take your items with you. When you return, those state members, you'll move to the table marked with your state. Very important that state members are there for this event. And then our partners will select the table that they'd like to meet with for the first round. States will be set in alphabetical order, starting at the top left when you face the stage. And we'll see you here in 15 minutes.